Welcome, fellow horror hounds, and welcome to the latest episode of Talk and Stalk, your unholy home for horror. I'm your host, as always, Barry, and today I'm just going to be giving my thoughts on the recently released movie Old, directed, of course, by M. Night Shyamalan. I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly. Now, I went into this film with not exactly high expectations. M. Night is a guy that has disappointed me quite a bit over the last few years. Now, that being said, I do think this guy has got some really good films to his name. I think he had a good start to his career, directing the likes of The Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, Signs, which is probably still my personal favourite film of his, The Village in 2004. And then he really started directing some duds. It really felt like M. Night was kind of losing his way. Having directed films like The Happening, which I actually think is a completely and utterly unintentionally hilarious film. It's so bad, it's good kind of thing. The Last Airbender, After Earth, of course, starring Will Smith, Lady in the Water. He really started directing some pretty bad films. And then in 2015, I started to feel like he was finding his footing again with The Visit. I thought The Visit was a good film, his best film in years, and of course, Split. Now, as I said, I went into this film having seen no trailers whatsoever, but the idea of the film, the concept intrigued me. There's a definite kind of Twilight Zone aesthetic to this movie. And so I went in, as I said, kind of not exactly overly excited or anything like that. And I actually walked away and I thought to myself, this was a pretty bad film. I don't think this is his worst film, but I wouldn't actually say it's a million miles off. The concept alone, the concept is interesting. I will admit, I was actually engrossed through most of the film. That said, though, like 2008's The Happening, this film I found so damn funny in places. And it was kind of unintentionally hilarious, and it was down to some really bad performances, some terrible dialogue. Tonally speaking, I felt like this film was kind of all over the place. There were moments that I realized were there to try and elicit a reaction, or an emotive reaction from the audience. But I actually found it quite funny, and I'm thinking to myself, are we supposed to be laughing at this? Is this a comedy? And it isn't. I don't think this film is supposed to be funny. But there was one moment, I'm not going to go into spoilers for this movie. There was one moment in particular that was so over the top that it just had me rolling my eyes. Now, that said, I like the whole idea of this film. I like the film that pretty much most of the film is on this beach. Of course, in this movie, we find that people are aging. They're aging rapidly. It starts off with they notice the children are getting older. And I will say this, Alex Wolff is in this film, who I think is a really good actor, actually. I really liked him in Hereditary. He's also in, obviously, the two Jumanji films that we've had. I believe he was in My Friend Dharma as well. He's a good actor. Now, again, though, I don't really feel like he had particularly good material to work with here. I will say this. Obviously, his character ages, and they're obviously using different actors for each of the aging processes. The casting there was spot on. They got the perfect actor, the perfect look for each age of that character. Whereas other characters, it didn't really feel like they were aging. I get it. There's a bigger transformation between a young child to becoming a teenager, etc. That's going to be a lot more noticeable than, say, someone going from 40 to 50. But it really didn't feel like anyone else in this film was really aging. Little makeup effects, wrinkles, and that kind of here and there later on in the movie. But it never felt truly believable to me. But the idea and the concept of the film was interesting enough, but it was all in the execution. I really feel like Shyamalan was trying to be very experimental with the filmmaking here as well, with some of the camera angles that was used and the camera pans around, and I don't know, it was a little jarring on occasion, in all honesty, and the editing felt like the editing wasn't very good. Um, there was a lot of quick cuts, and it was, yeah, a little jarring. Now, I will admit there were moments in this film where I did kind of feel like I was losing a little bit of interest, kind of here and there. For the most part, I was on board, but it got to the point you get these kind of ridiculous moments, and the movie was losing me. And it's kind of a shame because it is a concept that has been done before. It's a concept that has been done many times before, the whole kind of aging process and whatever. Um, I just don't feel like this film was. It's like he had a good concept, a good idea, and wasn't quite sure how to run with it, what to do with it. Now, being an M Night film, there's a twist. Well, not I would say the biggest twist that M Night. As soon as you go into an M Night film, you've got to kind of expect a twist. Sixth Sense had one, Unbreakable. M Night has become kind of renowned for having twists in his films, and sometimes I feel like he's trying to be a little bit too clever for his own good, and sometimes these twists in that feel very tacked on to the movie and irrelevant to some degree. Now, the ending to this movie, it's certainly making some commentary in that, if you will, and whatever. And I didn't fully see it coming in that, but I think I just kind of lost interest by that point. When we got the ending to this movie, this kind of big reveal, if you will, I just felt like I kind of lost interest at that point, and it's kind of a shame because I feel like this is a film that actually had some potential to be better than what it was. And as I said, I think it's really hindered by just some terrible dialogue, um, some pretty poor performance. I mean, Rufus Sewell's in this film. He does a perfectly good job. I don't want to go into spoilers. His character does some devolvement during the film, and I actually found it funny. I don't think I was supposed to find it funny, but I just found it really funny with how it was executed. M Night himself is actually in this movie in one of the biggest roles I've seen because, as you know, M Night actually appears in most of his films. Usually a small role or little more than a cameo or whatever. He has a larger role in this film, actually. He's the guy, this isn't a spoiler, he's the guy that takes them to the beach. He's the transport. And then they soon come to realize they can't get off this beach and they're aging rapidly. There is, without going too much into spoilers, there is a moment involving two characters in some coitus, shall we say, or whatever. The whole scene that comes after that, I just found funny. I just found it hilarious, and I don't think it's intended to be. It's just, yeah. Unfortunately, this is a film that really isn't very good, in my opinion. But as I said, I wasn't expecting it to be very good. It's kind of a shame because M Night was churning out some good stuff again. I really liked Split. I really liked The Visit. I'm a defender of Glass. Is it great? No, but I thought Glass was okay, and I don't understand the hatred it gets. I realised with that film, M Night it's almost like he was trying to create his own kind of MCU, his own kind of shared universe and whatever. But I know he was very disheartened at the poor reception that film got, considering I really felt like he really put his heart and soul into that film. With this movie, though, it's not a film I will return to. Quite a few of M. Night's films I can quite easily go back to. Signs, Unbreakable, Sixth Sense, even The Visit. This is a film I'd be quite happy to never watch again. This film, as I said, was as funny as The Happening was in places. But there was an air of mystery there. There was an air of mystery that did kind of keep me guessing. During most of the film, I did kind of think to myself, I was wondering what direction this is going to go in, but it got to the point where it just became so comical that I just could not take it seriously anymore. And I think ultimately I ended up losing interest by the final act. So I would certainly say it's a film that you could easily skip, easily miss. I'm sure if there's people out there that probably really do like this film. Unfortunately, I'm not one of them. I wanted to. So yeah, that's pretty much all I want to talk about regarding this film. So thanks a lot to everyone that listened, and I will be back again soon to haunt you and torment you. And if you've liked what you've heard, please feel free to subscribe to my channel. Any support's massively appreciated. Okay, take care.